Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. Your host, Roger Abel, here with Elias. Elias, welcome back from football camp.
Thank you.
Glad to see you're already getting that rolling.
Yeah, happy to be back. And there's no rule changes for high school football this year, so it's nice to know.
You haven't graduated into college football yet?
I work both, but the last couple of days I was working on high school football. No rule changes, so that's a good thing. Have a year when there's no changes, and then fans and the PA announcer and the coaches don't have to learn the rules, or the rule changes anyway.
Do the PA announcers actually really know the rules that well?
At a high school football game, there's a high probability that only 5 people in the stadium know the rules, and that would be the 5 officials that are there. Some coaches are good with it, but there's...
What do you mean? The fans don't know the rules?
Surprising, I know. But there's like I said, there's very good odds that there's only 5 people in the stadium that know the rules.
Okay, so in a football game,
yeah,
what's the most misunderstood rule of football from a fan standpoint that the fans think they know but really have no idea about?
Yeah, that's okay. So we talked about this.
Did you really?
At the clinic. Yeah, but this was sitting out on the patio at happy hour talk. This is this type of stuff we'll talk about. So there's a couple things brought up. I think holding is probably the most, because it's one of the more consistent fouls, but what fans wouldn't understand about holding. It's possible that as an official I could judge that you were being held, but then I could also judge that you weren't going to make the play because someone else also started blocking you, or you were too far away from the runner, the person with the ball. So I think that's probably an area, because when you're making a judgment on holding, you're not only judging, okay, I see something illegal, but then you're also judging the distance, timing, and spacing. Does it have an impact on the play?
So if it doesn't really have an impact on the play, that technically should be a no call?
Correct.
On all penalties, like all things, or just holding?
Judgment, things like holding, safety fouls, safety fouls impact doesn't matter. So like a illegal low block or a targeting, right? Impact doesn't matter because so any of the safety rules, the impact doesn't matter, but other things do. Like
That's
even on...
I was actually thinking holding was probably the most misunderstood. I think it's because we've talked about it before.
Yeah, correct. And it's... Right. And, grabbing. So people, okay, is grabbing a foul? No. Could you see someone's jersey get tugged on? You can. Are they really being held? Maybe, maybe not. So that's probably the one that you see the most often. Or another good one, like let's say you might be getting held, but then you still make the tackle, right? And people, holding. I know. He was getting held, but he still made the play, right? The player still made the play, so no impact. So those should be no calls. But that's where the judgment comes in. So I think that was kind of people agreed at least the table I was sitting at, that holding is the one that there's not an understanding of how it's actually applied by the officials.
I'm getting so excited for football. I can't wait.
It's a great time of year.
It's like 2 months away. It's unbelievable how fast it's went.
Yeah. I think high school football is going to start in 8 or 9 weeks. And then college will start in 10 or 11, I think, at this point. So
yeah, we're almost through June.
There.
All right, quiz for you.
Okay.
Why do people hire financial advisors? I had this question posed from an individual the other day. I wanted to see what your input was, and then I can kind of share with you what my input was as well. But why do people hire financial advisors?
Our input's probably going to be pretty similar, but I think the why for why people hire financial advisors, the main reasons are delegation of a few things: time, desire, knowledge. So you're going to delegate that. Now, like, do you want me to go beyond that? I mean,
no, that's good. I think dig deeper. Why does somebody decide, though? Like, besides they don't want to do it, is there another reason there?
Yes, I think from a broader perspective, having someone that you think is a professional and is a professional and a relationship. I think to me, I think our clients, that's probably the number one reason why. Because as you build trust and rapport with someone and as the relationship grows, right? Because here's what we know. There's a limited number of solutions for people, right? And it's really the solutions we provide depend a lot on their own personal reality, personality, and then relationship with money. So it's kind of like the old saying of it could be the world's greatest investment, but it might not be great for you depending on your situation. So I guess to me, that's the number one reason why, is having a person to talk through situations, understand the situations, and then make good decisions with guidance. People don't want to make mistakes in general, and certainly don't want to make money mistakes. So I think there's a lot of probably peace of mind or confidence when you feel you have all the information, you think, and you believe it's all correct, and then you can make a really good decision.
So I think those are all valid reasons why. But I thought about this. I'd read something, and I started thinking more about why, and I was trying to figure out why people wait so long to engage financial advisors. Because like you said, what we know is an individual's outcome would be better if they engaged us directly out of high school or college. They'd have a better outcome because we would put them on. It has nothing to do with the investments are better. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with we'll put them on the right strategy to get to where they want to go. They get to have compound interest work sooner for them. So it got me thinking, why do people wait till they're 40 or 50 or 60? Like, think about one of the number one times people engage with us. It's literally within 3 to 4 years of retirement.
True.
And here's what I figured out. An event is what causes them to engage with us. It's not because they want to delegate it or they think they don't know how to do it. It's because there was an event in their life that caused them to say, well, I need help. And a 23-year-old who's got a job doing a 401k, there's nothing disturbing has happened to that individual yet that would disturb them enough to go find a financial advisor, unless their buddy right out of college who got a job in this business calls them up and disturbs them.
Right, or motivating factor.
Right, there has to be a motivating factor.
Right.
That's really why, the true essence of why people engage advisors, there is a motivating factor in their life that caused them to seek help.
Yeah, I see that. I think, though, wouldn't it be kind of, it'd be nice if it wasn't that. It'd be nice if using professional financial advice was more common. I think a lot of people would really benefit. I don't think people in general understand how they could benefit from a relationship that's designed to help you make good money decisions throughout your life.
Most people think a financial advisor, the reason they're getting one is so that they make more money. How many people come?
That's a common misconception, I would say.
It's a misconception. Yeah. The reason you should be hiring a financial advisor is because you want a better strategy. Why do the best coaches make the most money? Because they have a better strategy. It's not because they have a better football or they have better players or they have better equipment.
Well, a lot of times they have better players.
They do, but the player pool's all the same.
True, correct.
I mean, seriously, the player pool's limited, just like our investment industry. We all have access to the same players. Think if as an NFL football coach, every single coach had access to exactly the same players. There would still be coaches that dominate other coaches because they have better strategy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's really similar to what we do. We're really like a coach, and everybody in our industry has access to the same players. It's just our philosophy and how we help get it done. And that's really what advisors become for people. I think the misconception is we're going to, find them the best investment. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's really all about what's the best strategy to accomplish your goals in concert with, what's important to you. And I think I brought that up because I had somebody ask me this question. It just got me thinking about it the other day even more. And our standard response has been time, desire, knowledge. And I've added technology now. Technology's come so far, it's really hard for people to replicate our technology and understand how the technology works. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
Yeah. So, right. But from that take, really, that's the event's the first step. And then you start to do, the other stuff. So that brings up a good second topic. I found some stuff about questions to ask if you are interviewing a financial advisor or a firm. So I thought it'd be good to go through this and just talk about these questions, good, bad, indifferent, comment on them. So the first one here, and this is from a Forbes article that they put out. I think this is a good question to ask if you're interviewing someone. Do you have the training and experience with the critical decisions I'll face? Very good question, right?
It is.
And I think there's a few ways to think about this and quantify whatever answer you're hearing. And I think one of our competitive advantages as a financial services firm is the thousands of people that we've helped retire, right? Because there's a couple ways to get information through whatever data and research that's being provided. But then there's also real world application where a lot of times I feel we can give great guidance because we've had so many people go through these different scenarios and understanding that each family is unique. So I think it is good for a client to understand, do you have families similar to me? And that could mean through wealth that's been accumulated. I think by profession too is important, right? Understanding the different career paths that people have had and then how that tends to impact their money decisions and the things that they think about, right? Because ultimately an engineer is going to think about their money differently than someone who is in like the power line union or the gas and pipeline union. They're just going to think about things differently. So I think that's a really good question. Do you have any?
I have two comments.
Yep.
One, I think that if people think about our industry in terms of outcomes, how do you get the best outcomes? It's having more knowledge. And it's not that I have more knowledge, but we have 10 advisors here. We've bought 5 or 6 different practices from advisors who've ranged in the business from 30 to 40 years. So when I have a situation that maybe I haven't seen before, likely somebody here has, that they have seen that scenario. And because we embrace that team environment and we can go to somebody down the hall and say, hey, what do you know about this? We don't have to know everything. If an advisor tells you they know everything, they're wrong. And I'm going to give you an example because I'm the first one to admit if I don't know it. I had an individual customer of ours, been a longstanding customer, come in and asked if I could help with this very niche, unique foundation. And it was really smaller than what would benefit us to do and benefit them because the pricing would have been too much. So I said, hey, I think you should go embrace this organization, have them help you. And it was an organization that's all that they did. Was this very unique, specific type of raising of money. I just said, this isn't in our wheelhouse. Let's delegate this to somebody else. Did we make any money from it? Zero.
No.
But you know what? The customer referred us to somebody else. And the reason that next person decided to work with us is because we're willing to say or tell somebody when it's not in our wheelhouse. An advisor should be willing to walk away from something.
Right. And
if it's not going to benefit the client, you got to walk away from it. So those are my two comments on when you ask an advisor. I forget the exact question, but most advisors don't know everything. And then look for a team of advisors to lean on versus one individual. Think if you were an individual, you started doing this out of college, and all you were pulling from were your experiences over 10 years. Maybe you have a few hundred experience and outcomes. Well, okay, so we take a few hundred and multiply that by 10 people. Now we have a few thousand.
Yeah, it just grows. Yeah, it grows the knowledge exponentially that you can that you have access to.
Exactly.
Right. And that's a good point. Cause I don't need to experience every situation. There's most likely, like you said, someone in the firm that has. I can get guidance from them and I can deliver the message, right? Which that's two different things. Delivering the message, but then actually having the experience can be different.
Here's the beauty of our firm too. If it's not in our wheelhouse, we'll turn it over to the person. So I had a situation a couple of years ago. They were looking for a very unique planning tool that, in all fairness, I didn't really want to go into that level of complexity. And I knew that Casey had done like 4 or 5 of these in the past. So I just told the individual, I said, I think Casey for this situation is going to be a better fit because he has experience doing this. And I know it's going to be done right. So we just turned it over to Casey to do. Well, if you're working with a one-man shop, how's that ever going to happen? They'll never turn it away, which then you become the learning tool. Like nobody wants to get practiced on.
No.
Right?
No.
And that's what we don't do. And yeah, could I have done it? Absolutely. Was the outcome going to be better because I had Casey do it? Absolutely. Because he has experience doing it. And there was some legal stuff involved. And with his legal background, it just made more sense for me to turn that over.
So another good question here for folks to ask when interviewing, will you act as a fiduciary on my behalf? And that is a good question. I do think what retail clients and what consumers do need to understand is not every relationship has the fiduciary standard. That doesn't mean that you can have a good relationship with a firm outside of fiduciary level offerings. But that is a way to know that the decisions being made are being held to the best interest standard. I don't really want to, I guess, get in the weeds on exactly what all that is.
Not everybody needs fiduciary asset management.
Correct.
I'm going to give you, I'll make it simple. You have an individual that has 13 stocks they've owned that they picked, they bought, and they've had them for 20 years. And you're never going to sell them. Why would you pay somebody a fee to manage them? Because that's
Good question.
Right? Like, okay, if you're having them do a financial plan, you're going to pay an hourly fee or something for advice, but there'd be no reason to do asset management on those investments. And under a fiduciary asset management situation, you're going to pay a fee to let them sit there. Where if you just had it in a brokerage account, the only time anything's going to happen is if a transaction's made. It's not for everybody. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. I would say most clients benefit from having a fiduciary, but it doesn't mean everybody has to have one. You just need to make sure the person's working in your best interest. That's really the question. What are you going to do to work in my best interest?
Well, that's also another way to ask. Yeah, that's a good way to ask. So the third one here, which it ties into the second, because the third one is how are you paid? Well, right. So that's also kind of one of the forks in the road on fiduciary versus the older school way of doing business through commission. So, and for simplicity, if you're paying a commission to someone, or that person's being paid a commission for placing business somewhere with a company, that's not a fiduciary relationship. And it is possible that you could have an account that has commission and have an account that pays a fee, which would be fiduciary service with a firm. But that is a good question. And what my guidance always is you should understand what you're paying, how you're paying it, and then you should also know the value that you're getting in return for that. And I never shy away. I don't know how other firms handle it. I never shy away from questions about how we're paid. I feel we do a great job of being fully transparent with that, because I do feel people should understand that. And here's what they know. It's not free, right? Like the work we do isn't free, so they know we're getting paid.
People don't expect you to work for free. Guess what you get for free?
You don't get anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing's free. Like when someone tells you it's free, there's always a catch somewhere. Always. Oh, yeah, we're giving away free tickets to this event. Well, why do they do that? So they can get 3,000 phone numbers and emails so they can continue to market to you for the next however many years. Nothing is free.
And with this question, if I was a potential client interviewing, here's the red flags that I would think of. If I ask that question and I don't feel that it was answered confidently, would make me feel, okay, I don't really feel like that. I don't really feel like I got a real answer. You should get a real answer. If there's a specific number, it's possible that could be disclosed to you. I think if that answer included something, well, you don't pay anything. You don't pay anything for it. Okay, but that could mean that there is a commission getting paid, but it's maybe not coming out of the money that the client.
It's built into the product.
Yeah, it could be built in. Okay, you could call it an indirect, whatever it is. But there's nothing that happens in financial services business that doesn't have some sort of payment included in it. And if you're agreeing to do, like a fee for hourly advice or whatever, just know what it is and how it's going to be billed, right? Like if it's $300 an hour to meet with someone, okay, if I meet with you for 20 minutes, do I pay for 1 hour? Or do I pay for 20 minutes? I'm guessing you're going to pay for the full hour. I'm assuming most firms would operate that way. So I just think having a level of understanding.
It's why people do like the fiduciary management, because most of the fees are very transparent. Like what you're directly paying,
It's right on the
statement. There. It's on the statement. It's line itemed out, or you're paying an hourly fee, where you start to look at other products and they're not as transparent as to what you're paying, right? If someone says, hey, I have a managed account, I have $1 million and the fee's 1%. Okay, well, you're paying 0.25% per quarter or 1% a year based off whatever the quarterly value is. Evaluated 4 times a year. Like, you see it right in your statement. That's why people like fiduciary management, where if you have some other product that doesn't have it on the statement, you don't know what you're paying. How many times have we seen clients come in here? Other things have been sold to them. They have 3 and 4% in fees and they have no idea what they're paying.
That's fairly common.
Because the only place you see it is in a 300-page prospectus.
That you never read.
Or they send out on a CD-ROM now. And no one has a CD-ROM. Like, where are you putting that in? So That's the reason I think people gravitate towards that fiduciary level of management.
It is. And here's a good fourth question. What biases do you have? That's a pretty insightful question to ask an advisor. And
what are yours? Because I've already thought like 3 or 4 of my biases right now.
Yeah, so when I first read this, I started to think, what would my biases be? Well, one, I do believe everyone, the starting place to figure a lot of this out is a goals-based financial plan. So in some way, that might limit some of my perspective on how things can be done, right? Because I'm so been trained and that's our philosophy and that's what I believe in. It was interesting to think about, well, what are the pros and cons of thinking that way all the time, right? Inherently, there's no perfect way to do anything. So is our way perfect? Well, no, it'd be silly to say it's perfect, right? But is it effective? Does it work for our clients and the people we work with? Yeah, it does. And then the article was getting into, that could help determine whether they'd be willing to help you build a strategy to bridge Social Security. It was kind of hinting towards maybe some firms don't want you to take money out, which I know our clients don't believe that's an issue here. People call for money. And actually, we just had a meeting this morning where the question was asked, what's stopping you from spending more of this money? Right? We're here to encourage people to enjoy the money they have.
She was debating whether she should trade in and spend $10,000 more in a car.
Yeah, no brainer.
Her gains were 15 times that last year, and she's worried about trading up to a car, and she never takes money out ever.
Yeah, and then the other probably really strong bias that I would have, and this is more of an investment and product opinion. I'm really under the belief that trying to outperform the market and do things like that are I think it sounds good. It's like one of those things that sounds good when people talk about it, but I don't believe it's practical to achieve goals like that. So maybe there's times that there's things I should consider that I don't for those reasons. Now, I think there's a lot of times where my biases would be confirmed, right? I mean, a lot of our clients have good experience. The clients that take our recommendations and implement our strategies, things work, right? And it's kind of vanilla. It's maybe boring. You could make an argument our philosophy is boring at times, but I don't think people want excitement. I don't want excitement for the financial planning that we're doing. I want it to be simple and understand for people.
Well, one of my biases was similar to yours in that I don't think you're going to outperform the market. I think people should seek a relative return to whatever their risk is. But I also have the other bias that we've talked about a lot, and it revolves around people rationalizing why they're going to work forever. So, Elias, another thing that I have a bias towards, and it's whenever someone tells me they're going to work forever, I have this bias that they're just trying to rationalize why they don't want to save money, or they're trying to rationalize why they're going to be okay because they're way behind. And we've talked about it a lot. Tell me a time someone told me in advance they're going to work forever, and they actually do. Till the day they die, because that's forever.
Barely anyone works forever.
No, they don't, because what happens? It gets derailed at some level, right? They lose the job. They get sick. They don't have the energy. They can't show up. Like, you can't work forever. But people utilize this rationalization to justify what they're going to do today because they don't want to change.
They don't. And they don't. They probably don't want to think about it or address the situation.
I think there's several things people are doing, and then I think there's several ways to solve it. But one is, I'm going to work longer, right? A lot of people feel behind. So they rationalize what they're going to do to fix that problem versus just attacking it. And attacking, it's usually spending less, getting rid of your debt, saving more. Like, that's how you're going to attack being behind. But I want to talk about a couple of ways that people rationalize it and then how maybe we can fix it. But the first thing we always hear is, I'm going to work longer. Maybe.
How long?
How long? And it's probably not going to be your control. I have one client, two. One's a farmer. He's in his 80s. He's still working because he's a farmer.
Pretty standard for a farmer.
They're never going to quit.
Yeah. Even when they're retired, when a farmer says I'm retired, it means I don't run the operation anymore, but they still help with all the chores for the family members that are running the operation. They are not just sitting around, not doing anything.
Right. He likely said, I'm never going to retire because he never really wants to retire. It's not because I run his money. I know he's not behind. He's in great financial shape. He puts money in every year. He just takes some out, but he puts some in every year. I only have one other individual I can think of that's over 75 who's still working. And it's 100% by choice.
Still enjoys working.
One of our very best clients, and the only reason he's working is because he doesn't know what he's doing. He really loves his job. Has nothing to do with money. Zero. Okay? Everybody else has either stopped working, even if they told. I know people in our industry, insurance people in our industry, that say, well, I'm going to work forever. Well, the reason they're going to work forever is because they were self-employed and never saved any money. So they have to work forever. And then guess what happens? They have a health event, and eventually they don't get to work forever.
More often than not, people that are saying that, it's because they don't have the opportunity.
Another common one is, well, I'll just figure it out. Like, these are all the ways people say they're going to deal with being behind. I'm going to figure it out. Not a good way to do it. Or I've heard this one. My parents were able to do it.
How?
Well, I know how. They had a pension.
Right, but that'd be my question. Well, how?
Yeah,
well, they had a pension. Well, do you have a pension?
Yeah, I know the answer. Your parents had a pension. They didn't have to worry about it. Unfortunately, where we are today in our retirement capacity as a country, you're responsible for your own retirement now. If you're under 50, you likely have no pension unless you're a state employee or federal employee. You likely are 100% responsible for this. You can't use the analogy, well, my parents were able to do it. Yeah, they were. The way they retired was completely different than how you're going to retire. And you know what's interesting? The people who are turning 20 today, how they provide for their retirement likely will be different than how we provide for ours.
They're going to have to save for it.
Well, maybe.
For the most
what if
part.
we revert back to this idea of pensions?
And
Employees want pensions.
We've talked about that a little bit. It is possible that it comes back. I'm sure there's going to be. It would not surprise me if 401k and pension started to become just kind of like the standard offering. But I would think you have to have, like, larger companies will start doing it first.
Well, remember, the 401k was actually designed in 1978 to be a supplement to retirement. Not all of your retirement. It was really designed for a way to people save additional dollars for retirement. It was never designed to take over. But what happened, big companies and corporations, and let me back up. It was really designed for small employers to provide a benefit, because as a small employer, just like I am here, I'm not going to go set a pension up for everybody. So how do we provide retirement benefits for people who don't have pensions? 401k. So that's what it was designed to do, and supplement people who had a pension. It could supplement. Well, what happened? The big corporations found out it was way less expensive.
Yeah, we're offering 401k. We'll just start taking away pension benefits.
Way less expensive to do a 401k versus a pension. Seems like a good idea. So how people plan for their retirement is going to change. A lot of people tell us they're behind, we're going to cut back on expenses. And while people think they're going to do that, that's really hard to do. So I came up with 4 steps that people could utilize, and I'll let you comment on these. Number 1 step is, if you are trying to get on track for retirement because you feel like you're behind, take small steps.
How do I feel about that?
Yeah.
Excellent idea.
We've all heard of this. You know what someone else that we know calls them?
Who?
Baby steps.
Oh, the baby steps.
Same thing.
Yes.
You could apply the same type of planning to your retirement as you do to Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Right?
Absolutely.
Just set them out.
Well, in almost anything, small steps are easy. It is too hard to complete a goal without smaller steps. You have to have you have to have the things along the way to get done, because there's nothing. What of any significance is ever accomplished because you did one thing one time? Nothing. Yeah.
It goes into number 2, which you just said. You have to accomplish small things because those are small wins. Small wins matter. Small wins make you feel good to go get the next win. Think about, have you ever seen it's a YouTube clip or something. It's a Marine, and he's talking about, why the first thing they do when they get up in the morning is make their bed.
It's a task accomplished.
Boom.
Yeah.
And once you accomplish the first task, the next one's easier, and the next one's easier.
So you know what's funny about that?
Happens to you too, probably.
My go-to move, like, let's say I wake up and I just feel like, man, I have low energy today. I don't really feel like I have the juice, I will go make my bed because I read that. So that's my go-to move if I'm feeling I need a little bit more to get going. The first thing I'll do is make the bed.
Okay, same thing. I do something similar. I've started doing something similar. So I've been trying to wake up early, like 5:30, because I'm just running out of time in the day. But I wanted to get up early so I could work out. Well, what I realized is if my goal was to get up and work out, that's an hour workout, my alarm would go off, I'd wake up and be like, I don't want to do that, and go back to bed. So I flipped what I did first. The first thing I do when I get up is I go in my office and turn on my computer and do a little bit of work for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And once I get some of that work done, some compliance work that I do, I just knock it out right away. Once it's done, man, it's pretty easy to work out at 6. But if that workout, which is the thing I want to do least throughout the whole day.
You're just tricking yourself. It's like a trick.
I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Now it's time to move on to this, where, man, if I have to accomplish the one thing I want to do the least amount the whole day, I won't do it. So small wins. 3, take strategic actions. So just lay out a plan of how you're going to do it. We'll just go back to like Dave Ramsey's baby steps. He has a very specific plan how to do it. Lay out a plan and then accomplish it one by one. And then 3, make progress. As you progress through things, it just gets a lot easier to get back on track. And if anybody's having trouble doing it, you can go to btwellshow.com, click get started. We're happy to help you guys do it.
There were 2 final kind of bonus questions, and these are actually not questions that you would ask while you're interviewing. These were questions for the client to kind of consider the other things they've asked and making the decision. And they're similar. So I'm going to say them both, and then we'll talk about what they mean. Do you understand your advisor, and do you like your advisor? And I think these are great questions for a client to think about. So let's talk about the first one. Do you understand your advisor? I have had a lot of clients over the year provide feedback about our firm that one of the things they like the best is we don't complicate the situation, and we deliver the information in a way that they feel that they can understand, right? No one wants to be talked over, and I'm very intentional about not using industry terms and lingo when I'm talking with clients. If I'm talking with you, I just say whatever I need to say. But I don't want to use, because I don't want to be talking with someone and then I say a term that they've never heard, so now their thoughts are, what does that mean? And now, instead of listening to the real important message. So I think understanding, and do you understand your advisor? You're working with someone who can bring you the information in a way that you can digest. I think that's very important. And you got comments or questions on that?
I think personality matters. You and I have a motto. We literally have the motto, we don't want to use too many big words. Some people, though, want very complex delivery.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yep.
And the cool thing about our firm is we have people who can satisfy both of those. We do. Like if it's super complex, we have advisors we turn that over to. If they want to really, really
I'm
get in the
not
weeds.
one of those, but that's okay.
Well, no, but
I'm kidding. But we
we
have a
both,
different approach.
The delivery that we have is much more geared towards simplifying this for people versus complicating it. There are certain individuals who are able to live in the world of complexity, and we can deliver it in a very complex manner. We just try to make sure we know who we're talking to. And what it really lends it to self is, Elias, is how we go through our process. It's really a 5-step process to get from beginning to end. It's probably 5 to 8 weeks to get through it. And during that period of time, we're trying to figure out and put ourselves into the client's world so we can see it from their point of view. And that allows us to figure out how they want to receive the information. Too many people think this is just like cut and paste, do it again. We're really trying to provide a very high level of personalized advice, but also delivering the information to the individual how we think they will best interpret it. So if I'm working with an engineer, which I have a lot of engineer clients, I know that they're going to want to be in the numbers world a little bit, not super complex, but be in the numbers world and live in the world of probabilities. If I'm delivering it to a doctor, they're going to want to just live in the world of outcomes, and they're going to care less about the numbers. What do I need to do to get the best outcome?
That's a really great example there, because it's actually, both of those things can lead, right? It's like taking a different road and getting to the same place.
Right.
The message, it's how you deliver the message that's going to resonate with the person.
Right. And that's part of what we try to figure out. And you and I both are at a level where if we think there's a different advisor in this firm that'll deliver the message in a better way, we'll include them. But I think that's really good. Those are really good points. And your second one, I'll comment on your second one already about liking the advisor.
Yep.
We tackled this in the very first meeting. I believe that liking your advisor and trusting your advisor carries about as much weight as anything else, because there's going to be chaos in the markets. Your world's going to get turned upside down at some point. That's just the reality of life. And the relationship that you have with your advisor likely will dictate what the outcome becomes. Because if you have an advisor that you don't like, you don't trust, what's going to happen with chaos happens. It's just going to exponentially make it worse.
It will make it worse. And over time, if you don't like someone, then inherently you're not going to trust their advice and implement it. Right. So you're also not going to get the value that you deserve to get as a client. Because if you don't like and trust someone, and we're dealing with, and someone was asking me about this last weekend, because really a big part of our job is managing the emotions and expectations. Well, if you don't like me or trust me and you watch the news and you see something and you call, hey, I watched this video, it's making me scared about this. What do you think about it? If you don't like me, I could have the best answer that anyone's ever answered a question with. And if you don't like me, you're not going to trust my answer.
I agree with that fully. And you're not getting the best outcome for yourself. Like, you should seek a new relationship.
No. I've had people come, and you probably have too. I've had people come and interview for second opinion. And a lot of times the second opinion is, I want you to look at my stuff and give me a second opinion on it. I'll ask people, how is your relationship with your current firm? Oh, and I've had this answer. I really like so-and-so. I think they do a good job. I just want that validated. Okay. I can look through your stuff and I can validate that for you, but I'll let them know. If you're right, you like and trust the person you're working with, that's where the value is for you. Like, I don't want to close the door on you. If you want to work with us, be happy to work with you. But to just change to make a change is maybe not beneficial, especially if your things are going well.
I agree with that. If anybody is looking for a second opinion, though, you could go to btwellshow.com or click the link in the description to get started. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. I thought it was a really good show today, and Elias, you posed some really great questions. If you are not following us on social media, please do. If you're looking for more information like this and you like it, you can sign up at btwellshow.com. We send out our newsletter and all of our updates. With that said, I want to thank everybody for listening and hope you have a great rest of your week.